Okay, so we are rolling. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to Psychology of Play. This is our week 1 live lecture. If you are in my section, I'm Emily Green. This is my voice. And if you're in Marie's section, welcome. You are in the right place. She's here in the chat box too. So Marie, if you want to say hi, go ahead. We're both really excited to present you the material. Marie's just going to hang out with us for a little while. I'm going to teach our week 1 and week 2 live lectures, and she'll teach week 3 and week 4. I want to check one thing. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Can't see the chat box when I have so we're just going to do it this way because I want to be able to see if y'all have any questions. So if you all have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat box. You also can raise your hand. Are y'all pretty familiar with your GoToTraining control panel over here? If so, will you type yes in the chat box? Okay, so most of you are, it looks like. Okay, so I won't walk you through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any trouble, just type it there. So my name's Emily Green. I'm teaching 2 sections this month, so if you're in mine, just a special little shout out to you. Today we're going to be going over 3 main things. We're going to be going over your class purpose and goals, class expectations, and your content for week 1. All right, I'm going to put this in big mode just so we can all be clear. All right, so at different intervals, I'll give a chance to do some Q&A if you guys have questions. So we're going to go ahead and hop in. I'm thinking an hour, but we'll see. I just want to respect your time. So we'll probably be wrapping up at 2, possibly 2:30, but we shall see. So play. For our class, we define play in this specific way. It is an outward expression of your passions and interests, an activity that creates a sense of pleasure, a relaxation, well-being, or an inner resource of creativity and happiness that fuels your motivation, performance, and personal and professional achievement. So when you think of play, this definition, parts of it may fit, parts of it may be a little bit of an expansion for you, but this is the term and the way that we're defining it that will help you kind of hone into the overall purpose of our class. So the overall purpose of our class, what I like to think about it as, it's really a way of helping you set yourself up for success. Here at Full Sail, we understand that our students have a lot going on, just in life in general, let alone an accelerated program. So what I love about Psychology of Play is it really helps get you reconnected with the whole you and helps bring in concepts such as well-being, wholeness, does a lot to really enhance not just kind of your specific skill sets that you're here for in your degree program, which I want to check in and see what a lot of y'all are here for, but it really helps you pull in that whole you. So to really help get you kind of geared up and prepared to handle the load that's coming after this class, and since it's a really quick format. So this class is really here to help you set yourself up for success, really get clued into your why, what brought you here to Full Sail, what you're hoping to get from the rest of your time here, and then beyond that as well. So I'm going to do a quick check-in. And if you would type in the chat box and let me know what it is that brought you here to Full Sail. So what degree program are you here for? And then I'll be able to read them out loud. So we got some game design, computer animations, mobile development, digital marketing, here for digital cinematography, graphic design. Okay, so we got quite a little it seems like there's a lot of commonalities that you guys have here. Another computer animation. So what I find that's really interesting about the students, no matter which specific program that you're in, is just how relevant our course is. For me, I see play in the way that we define it as really a direct line to all of these things, from your self-development, your mastery, a form of self-expression, which most of our students seem to already have kind of like a beeline into these areas. You have a leg up, especially in regards to, you know, your ability to really tap into that creative side of you. So self-expression seems to be something that's very innate to you. I also see play as a conduit to your overall sense of well-being, a wholeness, and it seems to be this really cool intersection between your conscious and unconscious self. I'm sure a lot of you, as you're getting into your projects that you're working on for school, and then the things you're just already working on, you can find when looking back how a lot of what you're working on is always seems to be intertwined with the stuff that you purposely put into it, and then that extra stuff that just came out as an expression of yourself. So I really think that you'll really get to enjoy the class, because it's really gonna call out these things. So it's not just accidental, it's very intentional. All right, so we went ahead and talked about what brought you to Full Sail. So here I want to just give you quickly a walk through your portal, and to show you our class structure, weekly activities, what you're going to need to do on a weekly basis, and how to do it. So this is just going to be the nuts and bolts of the class, so you feel like, okay, I'm not a deer in a headlight anymore. I know what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to turn in. So if you have any questions after I walk you through this, we'll do that, and then we can move on to the cool stuff. So here is your FSO portal, and as you can see here, I'm in preview mode, so this should be what you see. I'm not sure if you know this, but just a little FYI. If you come over here and click this, you can just click the do this week, and then it shrinks it down. For any of you who tend to kind of get an overwhelm when you see a lot of activities, my hand's raised with that one, this can be a really nice way to help just decrease that. So I'm just going to walk you through this right now in the getting started. You'll see professionalism. This is just a note to self. The professionalism is it's really a combination, or really just the fact that you turn in your stuff. So we take that pretty seriously. So if you are, let's say if you missed an assignment, you missed the discussion post, at the end of the course, so in week 4, we would just tally up what someone missed, and it's 5 points deduction in your overall professionalism grade. So if I'm a student and I missed an assignment for whatever reason, I would go from 100 to a 95. So if anybody, does that sound pretty straightforward? If not, just let me know. So for each week, there are certain deliverables. So I want to walk you through those. So today, we have our live lectures. Now each week you're going to have a call to play. Call to play is, just if we go in here, it's your week's kind of primer of what's to come. So it gets you in the zone of self-reflection. This is one of those skill sets that we're going to be using a lot of throughout the course, is self-reflection. Self-reflection is the way that helps you really get within yourself, and that's what this class is really about. It's accessing those greater dimensions of yourself to really boost your self-development and your self-awareness. So that's how we kick off each week. So you'll have these self-reflection questions, just answer them in there, and then hit submit test at the end. The good news is there is absolutely no wrong answer. We're just really helping you get primed for what's to come. And that's pretty self-explanatory. So you'll do that first. It really introduces you to what's going on. We have our week 1 readings. There's usually 2 of these, and we do have some extra cool bonus material down here, but that bonus isn't required. It's just the extra fun stuff. So, in professionalism, I do want to show you. So for your quote unquote professionalism activity, if you click in there, All you have to do is read what it is and then click on, well, here, hold on. I have the spinning ball of death, that you completed it. So that's it. You just mark as completed. It's understanding that we're expecting you to turn in your assignments on time. And if there's ever a missed activity, you get minus points for that. So all you have to do to complete this is come in here and boom, hit it, and you're done. All right. So back to each week. So you'll have this reflection question, you'll have your readings, and then your discussion. Now your discussion post is due on Thursday. So it is a really good idea to get in there and see what is what on Monday, if not by Tuesday. So if you haven't yet gotten in here, please don't freak out. It's totally okay. But our class is one of those classes that is not just about what you read and what you can remember. It's really about an experience and experiential learning. So each week, this discussion post is also going to require you actually doing something. I just bring that to mind because you're going to need like a few days under your belt to actually have something to say and get the most out of it. So let's go ahead and look at your week 1 discussion. And this, again, it's going to be like the same kind of rhythm, the same expectations for each week because we don't believe in recreating the wheel, so it'll make sense to you. So in this assignment, it's due Thursday at the end of the day, and make sure your Eastern Standard Time is our deadline. So if you're not in Eastern, just note to self. So in your initial post, you're going to respond to the following prompts. And each written response must be at least a paragraph. And to us, that's about like 6 sentences. So we're really looking for, understanding, depth, and application. I don't want just a yes, no, maybe kind of answer. Now, just so you know, you can directly put all of this on the discussion board. So here for one, and you would follow this format, you would have them all numbered. It just keeps it really clean. It helps keep you focused, and it's a good accountability to make sure you're actually doing what it is that, is going to get you that 100%. So you're going to complete the readings, and then you're going to select 2 quests. So you're going to select 2 quests for each week, and these are the ones here that you have to pick from. So when you open that link, it's going to take you here. And you're going to have 4 quests to pick from, but again, you only need to pick 2. You see, I'm going to do a quick check. Am I going at a good speed? If you could type in the chat box if you're following me or if I need to slow down or anything. I know I'm kind of just jamming on, but I want to get through this stuff so we can get to the actual content. Okay, cool. Thank you, Greg. Can you also click in the middle button on the mouse instead of right-clicking? Yeah, whatever you want to. Okay, cool. Good speed. Thank you guys for the feedback. Okay. So each week you're going to be presented with 4 quests, and remember, you only have to pick 2. So these are the ones for week 1. I'm going to go through these just so you have a greater understanding of what it is. We understand week 1 is really odd because it's all new. So by week 2, 3, and 4, you all are going to be pros. So here we are. We have quest 1, which is creative space. If you choose this one, this is the nutshell of what you will be doing. You're going to be creating a space just for you, and it can be someplace that you already have if it's your designated, creative spot. And you can enhance it or you can create a new one. So you're going to take a before and after picture, or you can even do one of those really cool time-lapse videos that you see people do. I always like seeing those when they redo their bathrooms to see the before and after. So I'm thinking one of those, but you get to choose. You can do something as simple as just a still picture or the time-lapse video of you spending time in your new creative space. So we want to see it before, we want to see it afterwards. Just so you know, this creative space, it can be a whole room, it could be your office at work, it could be just a portion of a room. I'm thinking like a corner. I've seen students do, create like a special area that's not the whole room, but a part of it. So again, the creative deliverable for this is going to be your before and after picture. And I always like when students spend time in that and then have that ability to reflect in their questions here of what it was like. And when you do that, as we get to it back here, I'll come back in a second, you'll be pulling in those course concepts. So you can see that the experiential piece is really important, because then you're going to be able to relate it back to the specific concepts and content of the week. So creative space is pretty popular, especially since you're just, for most students, you know, they're kind of in a whirlwind after getting through their first class and then coming into ours. So this is really one of those that can help center you, help get you organized. Organization is really important, as we all know, to the creative process, and not feeling insane during it. So it can really be helpful to do this one. If that doesn't sound like, you know, your cup of tea, you have another option. Week 2. Now, week 2, this one is actually going to be one you can always choose. It's on like the rotation because it's such a good one, and it's called your weekly plan. The weekly plan one, I'm laughing because I always find this is the one that whoever doesn't want to do it, this is the one that you'll actually get the most out of. So the weekly plan, it's really looking at a creative way of bringing in more focus, clarity, against all, or within all the dimensions of our life, which are in this category: work, which work could also be academic for you if you're not working as well as being a student; play, your fitness, which just overall health. It's not like you have to be a gym rat. And then push. And push is kind of that, it's that big, not necessarily big, but yeah, it's kind of like that goal oriented, like to help set you up to the next level is that push. It's like, what's that push goal would be for you? And that can be related to your academic, to your creative projects you're working on, or to anything. I know one student, he used his push plan to finish his outline for the story that he was creating. He's working on a book project. So for him, this weekly plan is one that he ended up using throughout the entire month, because it really helped him stay on point and make those bigger goals to build the steps that actually helped him meet that. So again, if you're someone who's like, I don't like calendars, I can totally relate to you, but this weekly plan can really help counter that, because you'll find as you get more organized, it also provides you more flexibility and accountability. So it's a good one. Let me see, Quest 3, passion project. So your passion project, this is one that's pretty popular too. You're just engaging in your favorite play activity, and you follow it up with what you're actually working on. So it's kind of two separate things. I think I can explain this better. So let's take the example of that student who wanted to complete the outline of his book. So in this scenario, he would do the passion project, and what that would look like is he would pick whatever his favorite thing to do. So that activity that just brings him pleasure and joy. Let's say it's basketball. So he plays basketball, and then immediately after, he's working on, in a focused way, that passion or creative project he has of working on his outline. And then what he's going to get to do during this reflection part of the quest is to analyze how that was helpful. So how was engaging in whatever amount of time that is, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's just 30 minutes of play, how that impacted, improved, or increased his ability to work efficiently and creatively on that project. And for him, it was the writing. So for this, just an FYI, you don't have to share like your whole finished creative project. So for him, like, he was not ready to actually show the book, but he could share pieces of it. He could say like how it was going. So it's not like you have to turn in a book if you say you're working on your book. You can take like maybe a screenshot, or just share, how much you were able to get done. So that's your passion project. And your play collage. So Your play collage, this one is very specific just to week 1, and it will make a lot more sense after you do the readings, or if you haven't yet, after when we get into the material. Your play collage, it's really looking at, it's really neat actually. It looks at, gives you that bird's eye perspective of your past and what you loved to do as a kid playing, presently what you love to do, and then how you imagine yourself projecting yourself out in your future and what that looks like. So what you're doing is you're selecting 2 images from your past. FYI for my students, if you don't have photos but you want to, draw yourself, that's fine too. Or 2 images from your present and then 2 images of your future, which obviously you're going to have to kind of make that up in a creative fashion. And that can be through drawing or just grabbing pictures of other things that people want to do. So those are the deliverables. It would be that play collage. This one, it would be that passion project you're working on. Your creative deliverable for this one is the actual plan, which we have one that you can, like a template of one you can use. You would turn that in. And then your creative space is the picture, the before and after, or that time-lapse video if that's your thing. So back to this. So you've done week 1, you've completed the readings. So you'll write in number 1, I'm doing passion project and the work, play, fit, push schedule. Here is where you can download right here the weekly plan for that. If you're choosing Quest 3, this is a cool article that can help just get you kind of more in the groove for it. So number 2, you're going to be answering what you did and you're going to be describing your experience. Again, we're really looking not for a book, but we're looking for expression and application and really using your writing skills. So definitely pay attention to grammar and spelling, spell checks there. So use that. And then number 3, how do your Quest experience, connecting it back to the material, what was that like? So within this, you're identifying and defining at least 2 concepts. So from this week, it might be the qualities of play that you identify. It could be the play personalities. It might be about the myth of time or myth of multitasking, how you utilized time batching. You're going to include those. And then this is, again, really just to help you make sure you're completing it fully. Underline the course concepts. That's just really helpful. Number 4, you're going to explain how completing these quests sparked creativity for you. I'm really wanting you to be specific here. So again, looking for a paragraph of about 6 sentences. And then number 5 is that's when you're uploading that creative deliverable based on the specific quest that you did. So does anybody have any questions? If so, type them in the chat box. So that is for your assignment, your discussion post that is due Thursday. So you can see where it's important for you to get in there as soon as you can. If it's Monday, if not Tuesday, to start picking the quest and, digging into the experience. Because you see it takes a lot of reflection and actual doing. Then on Sunday, you have your response post, which is due. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box, so I'm going to assume y'all are all good. Yes? No? Crickets? Okay. So your response post is due on Sunday. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the feedback, so I know that it is clear. All right. So your response post is the second part of it, and this is due Sunday, again, at midnight or right before midnight, Eastern Standard Time. What you're going to do is you're going to respond to 2 classmates, their post addressing it within this format. So what that will look like is share something that you found meaningful in your classmate's post. And again, you're going to answer that with about 5-6 sentences. If you're like, why does she keep saying this? It's because once upon a time when we did not have this detailed, people would be like, yo, I liked what you wrote. We're looking for more engagement, and we want that to be a part of your experience as an online student in this format. And the response posts really help boost your sense of community and cohesion, and it starts helping you network with other classmates. So that's a really cool thing about our students who are online, is that they can, although they're not in the classroom itself, brick and mortar style, you get to start developing relationships with anyone in your class. So it might be someone who lives close by, it might be someone completely on the other side of the country. So this is really what this is for, is helping you also kind of put on that hat of more professional relationships, because we all know we all have different relationship worlds where we have our personal relationships, we have our more professional relationships. So your classmates are going to be a neat little blend of both of those. So this is a really important part for our online students. Your second part is you're going to ask your classmate an open-ended question about their experience. So an example here is, did you like what you did? That would be a close-ended yes or no answer, so don't go that route. We're looking for something that is more open-ended, that provides a chance of a conversation. So it could be something like, what did you, trying to think, like, what did you find most rewarding about your experience? What would you change, if anything? Or this example right here on the board, what type of video games do you like to play? Something like that. So that's the gist of the discussion post. So just remember, you need to do that to at least 2 of your classmates. If you want to do 3 or 4, by all means, but 2 is the minimum. Okay, so where did we go? Back over here. So we did our weekly breakdown. We went over the call to play with you have reflection questions. So these, actually, let me check. On these, they're due today. So your reflection questions, make sure that you do them today by the end of the day, Eastern Standard Time. So today's Tuesday. So every Tuesday, you're going to have that reflection question, which is the call to play for the week. So it's going to really help you, again, kind of get introduced to the concepts if you haven't started your reading yet, and help you kind of get your feet wet into what you're going to be doing in your discussion post, which would be those quests. So if you haven't done them yet, I know a lot of my students did. I was like, they are on it. No worries, there's still time. Just make sure you do that before the end of the day today. Any questions? If so, you can type yes in the chat box. Any questions about any of the stuff that's due today, which would be those reflection questions? Okay, thank you, Deanna. I appreciate your feedback. So you're good so far, no questions. All right, time check and some sip of my tea. All right, we're making good way. It's always kind of hard for me because I want to get into the content, but I know just how important it is to really go through this in a detailed way. Oh, Jason, you already did everything. Jason, I think you're in my class. I noticed that I have a lot of, some go-getters. So I think you are. Let me see. How do I go back to answer those questions? Let me see. Bailey, you would go into the activity and answer those. If by chance, I know one of my students did, he only answered like a few of them and kind of got too excited, I guess, or wrapped up in something and hit submit. Like here it is. You just type it in and you put it here. So if by any chance you need to do more, I know for me, and I'm sure this is for Marie too, but you can check back with her, you can always type it in feedback. So if you miss some out, you can do it that way. And if that doesn't make sense, I would say reach out to your individual instructor. Like if I'm yours, shoot me a message and we can troubleshoot it together. But you should be able to answer the individual questions within here. You type it in, or this is just like a personal preference of mine. I always tell my students to have a Google Doc, and that's where they do all their writing. It's a really good formatting and spell check. That's always doesn't work out here in our little responses, and then just copy and paste it in there. So Does that answer your question, Bailey? Okay, cool. Hang on, my son's calling me. Not now, man. All right. Okay, and Marie's got it too. Okay, great. Thanks, Marie. Let's see. So that is that. And let's see where we are. Okay. So we've gone through the call to play, which again is due today. You've got your discussion that has to do with your quest. Those are due Thursday. We already went over this, so we're doing good. And you got your discussion posts that are, or your response post too on Sundays. This is just a quick little grade breakdown. It's under in each activity, so you can see that there. Okay, whoop, whoop. We are at the content. So the content for, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Content for week 1, qualities of play. Oh, just a quick check. Has anybody done the reading yet, or is this all going to be like new for you? So if you could type in the chat box. Okay, so Greg has. Most of it. Okay. I have to get into the reading. Okay, no worries. So if you have, then I think hearing this will help just deepen it, clarify it. And if this is your first time getting the material, please don't freak out. This is just a good primer for you to dig in. I do notice I'm saying the word prime a lot. I don't know if any of y'all are fans of sci-fi, but I'm reading this new book. It just came out. It's called Dark Age. It's Pierce Brown. And he actually came to do an author night here in Orlando, and I got to get my book signed last night. So his characters use prime a lot. So I've noticed I'm using that. So, okay. So here we go. We're going to dig into the content. All right. So qualities of play. I know this might sound a little strange for those of you who haven't done the reading, because you're like, well, play is what I love to do. But the qualities of play really is going to help you glean more wisdom, reflection, awareness from throughout the week. Even though this is going to be totally geared just to week 1, knowing and learning about the qualities of play will help you I think appreciate play more. And then there's an important point I want to make at the end of this that if I don't, will somebody remind me in the chat box. So there are 7 qualities of play. So the first one, and this is the one that we kind of push up against, so bear with me for a second, it's voluntary. So this is one of those things that I think we all can really relate to if we think back on what we did as kids. When we play, we're just doing it because we want to. So it's completely voluntary. It's not forced. We play because we want to. There's this innate impulse for it. To understand the true spirit of play, we think about the activities that you're just going to go into wholeheartedly. So this class, obviously, as an experiential component of it, we're going to be asking you to engage in activities that are play. And again, not just this, I almost said superficial, but more meaningful play through the different quests that really speak to where you are now within your academic life and your professional adult life. So we understand that this just isn't necessarily complete voluntary play. So I like to call this the disciplined approach. And I think we can all understand that when we cultivate more discipline in our life of the things that we know are good for us, like play, we'll actually do them. Because a lot of things that we know are simple and good for us, like play, or like eating well, or doing some meditation, which can be a form of play in and of itself, because it's so simple to leave out. So this is the one kind of quality of voluntary where I know for me, I'm like, I can bat this around. I'm like, well, class is not voluntary, but if you take a more disciplined approach, I think you'll be able to start to want to do these activities, but even more importantly, I think it will help you recognize how important this part of your life is, because it's one of those that just gets easily squeezed out of our lives in our adult life. So having this discipline will really just serve you well. So the next quality is apparently purposeless. So play is done for its own sake. Now, let me note to self, not all play has to have all of these qualities built into one. So it doesn't have to be voluntary. It doesn't have to be apparently purposeless. Like, not every activity of play has to be all of these things. They might have a few. They might just have one. So I hope that makes sense. So if play has a quality of being apparently purposeless, this is one that it's not goal directed. It's kind of pointless, because you're just playing not to gain anything. You're playing for the sake of it. So that would be a quality of play. Inherent attraction. Now, this is probably one of my favorites. Inherent attraction, you'll find that quality in the ones that you just love to do. So you're feeling naturally drawn to that activity. You may not be able to specifically describe or explain what it is about that activity, or you might, but that connection you feel is just there. So it's innate, that inherent attraction. And again, it might not be there for all of the things that you do, but you definitely know it when it is. Diminished consciousness of self. This is a really cool one. I really like it when we get into anything that has to do with our awareness and our states of being. So when you lose that sense of yourself, not in a dissociated way that would be bad for you, but in a pleasant way where you just lose track of time, where you're so engaged in what you're doing, you're immersed in the moment, and you're completely focused in a way that gets you in the zone, not like in the I've got to focus and be really diligent. It's just happens. So that's the play that you lose your sense of self or sense of time, where you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 2 hours. I can't believe I'm doing this, that kind of thing. So freedom from time. This quality of play, you can think of a time when you were engaged in activity and lost all sense of time. I know it really kind of goes with diminished consciousness of self. But I will point out a little bit of the differences for these, is that with diminished consciousness of self, I forgot to mention, this one has a lot to do with you lose that criticalness of yourself. So you're not so worried what you look like, or what, if you're maybe working on something artistic, you're not in your head about it. So this one is more for freedom from time, obvious, where the time just goes. So diminished consciousness of self, like I know for me, and this is something I just thought of. I'm a big I practice Tai Chi and Kung Fu. So that's a big area of play for me. It's an activity that provides me a lot, and that has a lot of different qualities. Now, some days when I'm practicing, I have this diminished consciousness of self, and I'm not critical. I'm just so engaged in it that it's more of this experience of oneness or wholeness with what I'm doing. It's almost exactly, I was about to say, I'm laughing that disappearance of myself. But some days I will say it's not there for me, and I find that I'm really in my head. I'm critical. I think I look silly. So those are what I love about qualities of play, is it can help you become more aware of maybe why certain things work for you and other times they don't. So that freedom from time, again, it might be there for all your activities or for none of them. This one's a cool one, improvisational potential. This is where you just get to there's nothing static about it. It's something that can just keep expanding. So there's no rules. You add on to it. For me, I always think of just the improv theater. We have a really good theater community here in Orlando, the Improv. So if you happen to be local, I can't say it enough. Like, they have really cool classes that you can do. I have a friend that did an improv class, and she said it was like a total self-development, like hidden within it boot camp for her. But they also just have things you can go and watch people do improv in different plays. So I love it so much because it really helps with creative thinking. And in childhood, we did this a lot. We could turn anything into anything. There were no limits. So the improvisational potential is really kind of that in a nutshell. It gives you the opportunity to explore different possibilities. And this can be really helpful, just as a side note, when these qualities of play, as you get to know them in week 1, and I don't think you'll forget them in week 2, 3, and 4, but I think you'll find that within the class, as you're engaging in these things and learning about these things, you're going to recognize throughout your program, especially because you're in a more high stress environment, very quickly turning things over, deadlines, not to mention juggling the rest of your life. You'll find that when you hit a wall, or if you're working in groups or teams, you're going to be able to remember different qualities of play, such as improvisational potential, or that diminished consciousness of self, or other ones that can help you get over those blocks and work through problems. So just a little side note. Continuation of desire. This quality, you just don't want to stop. You just want to keep going. I will say, if my hand's up with this one, sometimes just because we want to continue doing something doesn't mean we should. So in effect, play as a whole is good for us. However, what we're really focused on is utilizing it not just for the sake of blowing off steam or having fun, but for really developing yourself. So you're going to find like this kind of strange, it might be counterintuitive, but the goal of our class is to really help you find balance. So in continuation of desire, you don't want to stop, but in all of the other parts of yourself, to boost your development and sense of self-mastery, we're hoping that you would be able to recognize this and then set that boundary when you need to. So I might not want to stop doing my Kung Fu form, but if I continue to do it for an hour, I might damage my joints or something like that, or I might just need to get somewhere and need to stop. So these are qualities of play that, again, might be there for a lot of yours, might not be there for all of them, but it's really just a way for you to get to know more of the activities that you enjoy. So thinking about yourself, what do you think, what qualities are present in a lot of the play that you naturally gravitate to? So in the chat box, if you would just type in, oh, Jason, you haven't done Tai Chi in a long time. I love it. It has been such a big game changer in my life on the whole. It speaks physically, mentally, emotionally. Love it. So think of the things. So Alexander, freedom from time, that's a quality of play that you find a lot in the play that you engage in. Alexander, what kind of things do you like to do where you experience that freedom from time? Continuation of desire, that's for Mark. Video games and trying to create them. So yeah, the freedom from time, Alexander, it makes me think of, how those certain qualities might pair really well together, so to speak. I'm thinking of like wine tasting and Jesus or something, but freedom from time and that continuation of desire, like those can go really well together. Competitiveness, like playing soccer. So Greg, for you, that competitiveness drive, within that, so to speak, what qualities do you find within that? It might be that thing you just voluntarily love to do, that inherent attraction to it. Christopher says inherent attraction, improv potential, all of these, all while playing a good role of playing games. So freedom from time. Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for sharing. So again, what I find that's for me most relevant about the qualities of play, and this is something I would not have I've known without going through what I've gone through. Oh wait, hold on. Artwork such as wood burning, repair of. Okay, cool. Is there are going to be those qualities of play that you find you're most, maybe I should say, inherently attracted to. However, there are going to be times of your life when maybe those aren't going to fit in your life. So being able to understand the other qualities of play can in a way help add more meaning to the others where maybe, you're not that into it. I know for me, just a brief little history, I've always been, I think it was Greg, he said competitive. Or Jason did, I've been an athlete growing up. I played basketball through high school, played intramurals in college. I've been surfing since 14. So you can see for me, my inherent attraction to most of the play had a very physical element, had a very competitive element. I liked the big thrill, seeking. I was injured 4 years ago while I was bouldering and I fell. It's been a hell of a journey of healing. And what was the hardest for me was losing my ability to engage in the activities that I just loved to do, the activities that made me feel me. Jason, so you can relate to this. He says he's injured now, unfortunately. So it can be injury, it can be that loss of the physical ability to do something. Alexander says, I think there's an injury too. It might also be just time constraint, like when you got life is full. I know one of the things my husband he used to always say is like, I don't have time for the things I love anymore, because it's like the logistics of life, of getting to work, keeping the kids alive, getting them fed, having time, so it can be something big like a health issue. It can be something big like life is really full. So even if you're not inherently attracted to maybe certain play, what I've learned through my experience is cultivating other resources of play, because that is the best conduit to, I find, not just like a stress reliever, but to a sense of joy, appreciation, and of wholeness. And those are the things that took me a long, long time to even like be willing to do things differently. Let's see, Daniel says, being injured in the military changed a lot of what I could do. I had to find new things I like to do. Yeah, Daniel, for you, was it hard to let go of some of those things and to find others? For me, it was. I lost the ability to walk for a while. I'm walking again. And for me, I took up, when I was able to fully walk and learn how to walk again, it took a lot of rehab. When I got to the place, I was able, to start doing Tai Chi. And I never would have given it I was like, I never knew what people were doing when they did it. I thought it was so silly. I'm like, you're not going hard. You're not sweating. I'm the person who's like, give it to me harder and I'll do even extra, I'll lift whatever weight. So you can see my mentality was really different. So for me, for a long time, if I couldn't surf, if I couldn't sprint, I wasn't going to do anything quote unquote fun. And talk about some darkness that can set in, or just depletion of joy and emptiness. So for me, I just finally got to a place where I was like, I have to expand my play repertoire because I need it. So for me, at first, this started when I wasn't able to walk. I took up, surprise, surprise, needlepoint. I never would have given that the time of day, but it was the only activity that was creative, and it still used parts of my body. Like I was able to use my hands, and it brought in focus, and it brought in some surprised freedom from time. When you're injured, like some of you have talked about, you have been, how long a day can be without having something that you can look forward to. So for me, that activity that I never would have given, a play activity I never would have given time for, it became a lifeline for me. And then, Tai Chi and martial arts, it has helped cultivate these other play activities that I never would have gone to, because before I was always just big thrill seeking person, very physical. And I'm so happy that I have these other things. I wish I didn't come to them the way I did, but we can't change those things, but we can change how how we react to things and how we respond. And I find play for me was one of the biggest game changers in my recovery from, you know, really kind of losing like who I was for a while. So I hope, let me see, I think Jason shared or someone was just sharing. Let me see, go back here in the chat box. This was important. Dion was saying time has been difficult. He's going through a divorce and it's changed his life. You know, so all of these things, like we all know, like life isn't always peachy. When it's sour and when it takes away the joy that used to be naturally there, I cannot help but just be so surprised by how more relevant this class has been to me because of what I've gone through. So for you, if you're in a time where it's a big change, it's a big setback, if it's relationally, emotionally, physically, I really think you're going to get a lot out of this class. For me, it's become even more important since I've gone through what I've gone through, and it's really helped me develop kind of undeveloped parts of myself. So the more I say passive very loosely, but the more peaceful aspects of physicality, where, you know, I can't wait to be able to surf again. I can't wait to be able to sprint again, but I have access to play activities that use my body and put my mind and bring more joy in my life in a way, you know, that I'm just deeply thankful for. So yeah, so be kind to yourself if you're a little bit nervous but excited. That's cool. I just think that's what I love about this class is it gives students the opportunity to really get reconnected with themselves in an intentional way. That's not just about learning the specific skill that you're here for. It's really about that wholeness of ourselves. And for me, I think plays that direct line into that. So let me see. Time check. I think we have time. I think we do. All right. So yeah, these won't. Okay. So I'm going to go over play personalities, and we might not have time to go over intelligences, but I find that in week one, most students gear to that one quest where you're talking about your play history and looking, you know, in the past, in your present, and your future. So qualities of play and play personalities are really like the meat, you would say, of the class. So, all right, so Jason, you have to leave around 2. So no worries. If you want to, you can always hop on and see what you missed, because tomorrow I will be posting by noon, if not before, the recording of this. But I'm really glad you were able to be here and participate. So play personalities, these are really self-explanatory, so I'm just kind of going to run through them quickly. Excuse me. There's 8 total. So you got your Joker. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have this type of play personality, oh, note to self, you can totally have many of these. So I always laugh because I'm like multiple personalities, you know, ha ha ha. I'm also a psychotherapist, so some of my humor comes from that. So if you're a Joker, you tend to really like anything that makes you laugh. I'm thinking of my son right now. He's totally this. An explorer, oh my gosh. So for me, this is a huge one. And anybody who's going through a hard time, especially if it's about a health issue, if you're an explorer, this one can be really hard to lose that ability. So having these other play personalities to cultivate or kind of lean more on can really benefit you when maybe you can't. It's also expanded to explore. You're looking for new experiences. So this can also be more conscious, more you know, mental experiences. So it can be a time of just learning and immersing yourself in something new if it's not out in the physical world. It can also be about deepening your emotional connections and things like that. A play personality, if you're a director, I guarantee you in your childhood, at some point, if not a lot, when a group of maybe your cousins or friends got together, I guarantee you were the one who was organizing and directing people in like a play. I'm thinking of my cousin Nadine. She was definitely the director of all of our dances and our plays that we put on as kids. Today, you would enjoy doing a lot of planning and organizing events or different scenes, or maybe you're when you're working in your teams and working on different things, like within game design, if you're working on your storyboards or things like that, you like being in the leadership positions within those. If you're an artist creator, which I guarantee you all of you have at least a little bit, if not a whole lot of them, you really love making things and expressing yourself through the artwork or the creative avenue that you're doing. Sometimes I think sometimes people kind of, this is where you could get into some introvert extrovert stuff. Just because you're an artist doesn't necessarily mean you love to put it out there. I know for me, I love playing the piano. I do not want to do it in front of anybody. I will play my heart out when I'm alone, but someone comes in the room and I shut down. The artist creator, just because you love creating doesn't mean you necessarily want to or have to share it with the world. But I love that most of you within your, degree program and what you're wanting to do professionally or enhance what you're already doing professionally, you are into, creation, and then letting that come to fruition in whatever that is. If it's in, I know someone was saying they're working on a video game, getting to share that, I think is, I don't have that part of wanting to share with others my creative stuff, but I'm so impressed, and kind of in awe when others do. I feel like you're putting part of yourself out there. So kudos to you. So the kinetic, I always mess this word up. So there it is. You can read it. You love to move. You naturally want to push your body and feel the result. So innately this, I know, Greg, I think you were saying you're really competitive. So I bet you this is one of your big play personalities. And again, if you're going through something where you're not able to be that artist that you want, or in this case, if you're not able to utilize your body in the same way, it's a big loss. So just look at all the other play personalities out there. And even if you aren't naturally maybe more of that type, we can borrow things for a while. So that's another part that I always like to push my students to is, get to know other parts of you, because I think we all have all of these, parts at least of these play personalities within us, and sometimes we need to pull on more than the other, or we can borrow more from the other. The competitor, pretty obvious. I will say that a lot of things are coming to my mind right now. Competitors, we all tend to get maybe a little snappy, you might say, talk some good trash. And I think it can often sometimes, depending on what atmosphere or what environment, we can forget that sometimes winning isn't everything. So really that competitive spirit, letting that be a good drive for you, especially in the play activities that you love, but also remembering, or like in a work environment, if you're working on deadline with other students, because you'll have group projects, not in this class, but in future classes, knowing that just winning isn't everything. How can you be competitive and be true to your spirit, but also remember cooperation and community are important. So these are just other ways that you can think of, and reflect on yourself and your kind of way that you naturally are, and not to undo that, but to also add new skill sets and new ways of being that can help balance or round you out. The collector, this person loves to collect things, artifacts, experiences. I'm thinking of my oldest. He is a collector slash hoarder. Things take on a special meaning for him. Like I was trying to remove some of his toys and he's like, Mom, like, and I'm telling you, it's a piece of toy from like a Chick-fil-A like thing, so it's not anything really worth saving. And he had this like drawer full of them, and he's like, Mom, you threw out my memories. And I'm like, what? And he's like, grandmother took me to Chick-fil-A and I got this with her. And it was one of those things I was like, oh my gosh, he attaches more to things. It was one of his memories. I'm laughing. It was one of those where in a parenting moment, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, when you're like, okay, don't laugh because they'll think you're laughing at them, but it just like completely tickles you, and also kind of, in a heartfelt way. And it was just one of those for me. So a collector, a storyteller. I'd be surprised if all of you don't have a lot of the storyteller personality within you, and especially something that you'll pull more on as you're working on different projects within your course curriculum or your program curriculum, when you get more into, game design or things like that. And I heard a little thing. Okay, so we're good. Just checking. Let me see, what was I saying? Oh, so with storytelling, for even if you're telling a story within, with your character, when you're thinking about character development and the arcs of individuals, and then let alone the group and the story, storytelling is one of those, I don't know, I think it's a gift. It's natural for probably a lot of you, but it is also something you can develop. So I'm sure when you're doing that within your specific, I never know how to say it, degree program, like your craft. I'll say your craft. When you're doing this within your craft, I'm sure a lot of you find that this is one of those that the part of the project that you just love to do. So for yourself in the chat box, why don't you think about and share with us some reflections that you have about yourself, like what play personality is most represented in yourself. Maybe even think of like your past and present, or are you kind of the same? Do you find that you still have a lot represented that is the same, or is it different? So if you write that in the chat box. Let me see. Christopher loves to explore a lot in life. Dion's the artist creator. Explore artist for Alexander. Yeah, I just really think, I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of Greg's a Joker competitor. That's a good mix, Greg. Let me see. Deanna loves to create the artist and explore. Sorry, guys, that's my dog. Milky, come here. Come here. Milky, hush. Sorry, I'm out of the office today. That is a dog. He's my little mutt. Milky Way, come here. Come here. Come here. He does not like the postman. So Deanna loves to, oh, he thought it was a dragon. Man, I wish you could see Milky, because he's not a dragon. You're not a dragon, are you? He's a rescue dog, a Chihuahua something. Jack Russell mix, they said. So he's special. He's my little special dog. Sorry about that. Yes, he is very cute. He was abandoned actually during Hurricane Matthew that hit Florida, I think a few years ago. Came right smack dab into St. Augustine, and he was abandoned up there. So I rescued him, and let's just say he still has a lot of trauma. So when anybody comes up to the house and bangs on the door, it triggers something. Let's see, Jason, you have a question. Shoot, what is it? If I leave now, how much am I going to miss? Oh, not much, actually, because I'm not going to go into the multiple intelligences, so not much. So if you need to go, go. But thanks for being here. So if you need to go, please go. I'm going to be wrapping up here in about probably 10 minutes. So thanks for being here. Okay, let me see. A husky Malamute mix, 80 pounds. There for that. Oh, man. Yeah, you know how bad it was then, Christopher. All right. Yeah, Jason, if you're on next week, I'll be teaching. Let me see. So, sorry about that curveball. Let me gather myself. Where were we? Play. Okay. So, I'm going to call it quits there for the content. Just to give you a brief little overview, I said that wrong. There are also some concepts about different intelligences, and you can go over those in your reading. I find that most students gravitate more to the quests that have to do with the content of play, just because they really like to nerd out on that and get some reflection and things like that. So you can read these, and if you have any extra questions about them, please feel free to reach out to your individual instructor. So different intelligences, it's just really the gist of saying, there's more than one. It's not just about book smarts and things like that. So each of these areas really gives you the chance to get to know yourself more. So one of my biggest, I love his work, is Carl Jung, and I found this just really relevant to our class. So I'll end with a quote. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. So I find that in the world of adulting, we really do become cut off very easily to those more inner directives that lead us to play or lead us to the things that we see like nowadays that we really need. Like we need more joy and engagement, and not in a way that's about consumption, which, I hear a lot of students will be like, oh, well, I love playing on Instagram, or I love playing on Facebook, or, things like that. What we're really looking at is getting into a play activity that gets you back plugged into yourself. And it's not about being a consumer. It's about maybe being consumed by the play itself, where it is activating parts of you that benefit you as a whole. I'm not saying social media is bad, but I am saying it's not play. So I'll put that out there. It's not play. So I'm really hoping that you'll really take this class as a time to reset what needs to be reset in your life, to get that bird's eye perspective of what are those areas of your life where things are needs more balance. And I find that this class is a really good way of bringing more balance and awareness into your life. So on that note, if there are any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat box. Let me see. Jonathan asks, what do you think is most essential when going through this course? Jonathan, that's a good question. I think the most essential thing is first actually pretty practical, and that's knowing what's due when. So what I always recommend, and this is kind of something that you can kill two birds with one stone. If you pick a quest, the work, play, fit, push, it really helps students get dialed into what are those expectations, like when things are due. I think it's a really good balance because the content of the class is more kind of more quote unquote heady, and people can kind of get lost in just the getting to know themselves more, becoming more conscious, and then kind of forget that they actually have to turn things in. So I would say the most essential thing is to know what's due, to do it, and turn it in. So that's that. Aside from that, I think the other is really just allowing the course content to be what it is. We know it's kind of a really different class than a lot of students are expecting to get. So just, which we'll go into week 2, kind of go with the flow, but I won't dive into that. Let me see. Greg asked, for the quest, should we title the files first name, last name, title? Yeah, that works. I'm not a big stickler on that, so either one of those variations is fine with me. If you're in Marie's class, feel free to reach out to her specifically. Jonathan says, is that a good Okay. Text can be hard to interpret, so let me see. Were you the one that asked that other question, essential? Okay. All right. Well, Marie says either one is fine for her. So again, like this class is really about you and examining, examining more of, maybe Jonathan, this is really essential. And this is some of the stuff that you get over time as you're reflecting and participating in the quest, is that the class really finds a way, or brings out, doesn't fake it. It helps you find that there's a lot of cohesion in the arc of your life. So the things that you loved to do when you were younger, the things that you're here at Full Sail for, why you're here at Full Sail, and what you're wanting your future to be, the catalyst is, you can find there's a lot of cohesion there, and a lot of it comes through what it is, what those play activities were. And they might not be specifically like, yeah, I loved to build, models when I was little. I mean, it might be exactly what you're here for, but it might have more of a quality of play, or it gives you an expression of creativity and focus that is similar to what you're here for. So I think the essential key of this class is that it really does give students a greater sense of, oh yeah, this is where I'm here, and also some just that cohesion that you get when you can see, even if your life feels a little fragmented, especially when you're getting into school and trying to get focused, there it provides this kind of overall cohesion to it, which can feel really nice. Let me see. This is a bit of a self-awareness class. Yes. Yep, pretty much. So in psychology, that's the cool thing we get to do in our department is provide more than what students are here for. We get to help, I like to say it as round you out, remind you that there is more that you're here for and more to life than just learning your specific craft. It's that remembering there is more to life and all of these things, which you can call soft skills, becoming a better human, becoming a better you, development, whatever word you want to put on it. It really is the make it or break it, because you can be successful and the best at what you do. But if you lack a deeper understanding of yourself and what you need and your ability to meet that, then, what is there? So we get to kind of ask some of the bigger questions and help you do that too. Let me see. Greg says, okay, I also sent a message with a question to you yesterday, but you answered it in this lecture. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'll be hopping in my email later, so I'll probably see that, Greg. So yeah, so that's what the class is about. And we're really excited to work with you guys. So I'll be doing next week's lecture. Marie's going to be following up in week 3 and 4. Marie's just wanting to clarify the time for week 3 and 4. They'll be held on Tuesdays at 11. So you don't need to really worry about that too much right now, because I'm doing mine at a different time. So I'll be posting that for next week, for next week's time. It'll most likely it'll always be on Tuesday, but I might need to move it at a different time yet. I'm not sure, but I'll get that to you so you have it. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being present and engaged. Remember today that you have your self-reflections due. So that's in that 1.2 activity, call to play. So make sure you go and do those. And then on Thursday, you have your discussion. So just make sure you're doing your stuff, and you'll do great. Okay. Everybody have a good day.